Well, hello and welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and we're reading through Mark's Gospel. We're in chapter 4 and we're up to verse 12. And again, very interesting to compare this with Mark's account in Mark chapter 1, 14 to 15. So starting at verse 12, Akousas de hoti Ioannes parodothe, anekorosen estan Galilean. And having heard that John parodothe, this is aorist passive from paradidomi, literally means to hand something over or hand someone over. This is the passive. He had been handed over. So it can mean to be betrayed. It can simply mean to be arrested, to be taken into custody, which is probably the meaning here rather than betray. So this is Jesus is the subject, having heard that John had been arrested, had been taken away. Anakoresin, he withdrew from anakoreo, we've had that verb before, into Galilee. Kai katalipon, aorist participle here from katalepo. The aorist is elipon, and there's your stem, so it's a strong aorist participle. And having left behind Nazareth, having gone, katoikesen, he settled, from katoikio, in Capernaum, which is parathalasian, which is beside the sea, on the borders, or in the borders of Zebulun. This must be Zebulun, and Naphtali. And again we get the stock phrase in Matthew, in order that that which is spoken through Isaiah the prophet saying might be fulfilled. And we get here a quotation from Isaiah. Now it's interesting that this one doesn't follow the Septuagint very closely, but this is quotation then from Isaiah. I might like to compare it with the Septuagint version from Isaiah 9, 1 to 2. And he says, Ge Zabulon kai ge Nephtalim. So land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali. Hodon, Thalases, literally a road of the sea. So it's a place beside the sea. Beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people, the people sitting, now laos in English is plural, people is plural but singular in Greek, so the people who are sitting in skote, in darkness, this is the third declension version of skotos, it's top skotos, so this is the dative. You do also, I think, get second declension versions of this as well, but here it's the third declension. Sitting in darkness saw a great light, and for those sitting in the land and the shadow of death, a light, anatelin, has risen up, from anatello, has risen up for them. Apototi erxateho Jesus ke rusen kai legain, metanoiate angiken ga hebazalea ton uranon. And from that time, we get apo here plus this adverb, from that time, Jesus began to proclaim and to say, repent, for the kingdom of the heavens, engiken, has come near. So he's taking over the role here and using the language of John the Baptist. In the next section, we have the calling of the 4 fishermen. Again, very interesting to compare this with Mark 1, 16 to 20. Peripaton participle, walking around, beside the Sea of Galilee. Aden, he saw 2 brothers. Simona ton legomenon Petron, kai Andrean to Adelphonau tu, Belontes amphiblestron es ten thalasan, esanga halies. So he saw two brothers. Now Simon or Shimon, the one being called Petros. Again, interesting that in other Gospels Jesus calls Simon, gives him the name Peter later on. Here the sense is that he's already been given this nickname. The names are very interesting because Simon is Shimon, it's a Hebrew name, a Jewish name. Petros, of course, is Greek, and Andreas, manly, is also Greek. So this perhaps tells you a little tiny bit about the background of these pair. They come from a family where he's been named Shimon, which is Jewish, but his brother's named Andrew, which is Greek. So he's coming from some sort of certainly well Hellenized background, so they're quite happy to give their children Greek names, Hellenized names, at least one of them. Balontes, they were casting an amphiblestron, a net. This is from amphi plus the root ballo. It's something that you throw about, you cast about. It's a casting net. The word is used in very early Greek. It's in Hesiod, for example, and it's in Herodotus. But it's generally translated as net, but it's coming from the idea of something that you throw around. Well, that's what you do with a net. So casting their net into the sea, for they were halies, fishermen. This is from hal-eus, E-U-S, third declension noun, like basileus, and this is the nominative plural here. The hal is coming from the same root we get salt, sal in Latin, of salt. So halies are fishermen, those who are near the salty sea. Kai lege autois, and he says to them, historic present, duty apisomu, come after me, so follow me, kai poieso, and I will make you understood to be halies, fishermen of men. Hoi de eutheos aphentes tardictua kolutheus and auto, and they immediately, having left their nets, they followed him. And I think from memory that's the exact phrase that's in Mark's Gospel. Kai probas ekethen eden alus tu duo adelphus. And having gone ahead, this is from pro and bino, aorist participle, having gone ahead from there, he saw two other brothers. Jacobon ton tu Zebediah, kai Ioannen ten Adelphonau tu. So he saw two brothers, James, the son of Zebediah, and John, his brother. Now again, names are interesting. These are both Jewish names. Jacobos, translated as James, or Jacob, and Ioannen is again a Jewish name. And so in this case, the father has given his two sons Jewish names. And they are in the boat with Zebediah, their father. Kat artidzontas ta dictua auton. Kat artizdo is to make artios, to make ready, so to prepare. It can also mean apparently to repair, to fix up, but it literally means to get into a state of readiness, so to prepare. They were getting their nets ready, and he called to them. And they immediately, aphentes from aphiemi, having left the boat and their father, they followed him. One often wonders what the father thought at this point, because he's got his two sons are supposed to help him with the fishing, and they suddenly just wander off. Verse 23, we get again a change, we get another pericope, we get a change of scene here. And the Gospels are like this. They give you little vignettes, little pictures of bits and pieces. And so we've just seen the calling of the fishermen, and now we move to Galilee. Kai periegen en hole te Galilea didascon entai synagogais arton. And he went around in the whole of Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, kai therapion noson, and healing all disease, or perhaps healing each disease, each illness. Now, nosos is feminine, and that's why we get the feminine adjective here. Kai pasan malakian ento lao. Now, what's the difference between a noson and a malakia? Well, possibly, this is often translated as malady. The possible meaning here is this refers to a long-term illness, or what we might call a chronic illness. Malakos means soft, and hence also has the sense of weak. So it's probably a long-term chronic illness, as opposed to a nosos, which is just any old illness, which might be short-term or long-term. This use of malakia does not occur in classical Greek in this sense, and in the New Testament it's only in Matthew, but it does occur in the Septuagint. It has the word malakos can mean soft, it can also mean self-indulgent. Here it's got more of the sense of debilitated, and perhaps that's probably the right translation here, every debilitation among the people. Kai abealthen ho akoe autu es holen ten surian. And now akoe is a first declension noun. It's derived from akuo, to hear. And so it's the report. So the report about him, for the autu, went off into all Syria. And kai prosenenkan, from prospero, this is the weak aorist form of the aorist from prospero. Auto epantas tus kakos ekontas, poi kilais nosois kai basanois, sun ecomenus daimodid zomenus, kai seleniads domenus, kai paralyticus, kai etherapeus in autus. So the report went all into Syria, and they brought, we're not told who that they are, they brought to him all those. Now the tus goes with the akontas, the participle. An echo plus an adverb is used in place of the verb to be, and kakos being in a bad way. So all those who, and echo, kakos means I am ill, I'm doing badly. So all those who were ill, poikilos nosois, with various diseases. Poikilos is a lovely word with a long complicated history. Here it just means all sorts of various kinds of diseases. Basanois, and we get another participle here, and so the tus goes with the akontes and also with this sun ecomenus, being oppressed by or being held down by various diseases, and basanois literally tortures or torments here. The word originally meant a touchstone, something that you could use to check the veracity of something. That then shifted to torture as a means of ascertaining the truth, and thence to a disease which brings pain or agony. It occurs in the Septuagint with that meaning. But basanos literally is torture. So those being held down by various diseases and we might say torments here. We get a chi in brackets here, and daimonizomenos, being possessed by demons, and being moonstruck. This is from selene, which is the word for moon. So those suffering from lunacy, get our word lunacy from lunar, of course, those suffering perhaps from epilepsy. So it was believed that changes in the moon, as seen by us, brought on mental disturbances and epilepsy. The verb itself does not occur in the Septuagint, and it's only here and in chapter 17, verse 15 in the New Testament. It's rare otherwise. It does occur in Manetho in his History of Egypt, so it's a fairly rare word. It literally is moonstruck, so suffering from epilepsy perhaps was the intention here. And paralytics, and he healed them. And ekolathos and auto oklopoloi, so a great crowd followed him from Galilee, from the Decapolis, the 10 cities, and from Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. And that is the end of that section.